Governor Brian Kemp's first week in office is almost over, and today he delivered his first State of the State address at the Capitol. Letitia Lance is in the newsroom seeing what campaign promises Kemp is hoping to keep.
Well, Ron, as you mentioned, he's only been on the job for a week, so it might be a little bit premature to hold up a list of his campaign promises and what he's delivered on as of yet. But Joe Henke is here, and you've gone through the State of the State address, which he gave today, and it looks like he is actually holding true to some of those campaign promises that he made.
He is. He brought up several of his campaign promises today. Let's start off with gangs and taxes. He hit on both those items today. As far as gangs go, he did campaign on this idea that he wants to dismantle what he calls street gangs in Georgia. Today he announced $500,000 is being budgeted to create a new GBI task force. He's also wanting to work closely with the state attorney general on gang crime. The now governor also campaigned on lowering the income tax in his State of the State. He said Governor Deal lowered the income tax last year. He's telling lawmakers he's trying to do the same right now in 2019.
All right, now when he was campaigning, he spent a good bit of time in rural Georgia. How did that factor into the address today?
He spent time there. He also spent a lot of time in his address today on rural Georgia. He said, you know, the metro areas, they've been growing for several years now, going in the right direction. Rural Georgia's sort of been left on the wayside here. As far as internet access in rural Georgia, when he campaigned, he said 25% of people don't have access to high-speed internet. He's asking the House and Senate to help expand that access. Last year, he also said rural health care is falling apart. Today, he said 9 counties don't even have a single doctor. Insurers are leaving the state. He's now pledging $1 million for limited Medicaid expansion. He's also vowing to work on a hospital tax credit for rural Georgia. He's also tackling a doctor shortage. Small business, also a big deal in rural Georgia. He said he is working right now. He's working with lawmakers to cut a bunch of red tape and make it easier for people to open businesses, hire and expand those businesses.
He covered a lot of ground, but
the
third thing I want to focus on, education, because this was a big point during the campaign. So where did that fall during the speech?
It continued to be a big thing for Brian Kemp. Of course, he has young daughters. Education is big to him. He made some promises on the campaign trail. He's starting to actually follow through on quite a few of those promises. During the campaign, he said $30,000 he wants to give to each school, throughout the state. He's now putting $69 million in his amended budget. He brought that up today. That money has to be spent on school safety by schools. He also campaigned for mental health counselors in every high school.
Wow.
He said about $23 million would need to be spent on that. Right now, he's putting about a third of that in place. That was in his speech today. And he also had promised teachers while campaigning a $5,000 raise. Today, he said this is a down payment, a good step in the right direction. A $3,000 raise was mentioned in his State of the State address. Of course, right now, these are just all words. He's putting this stuff into budgets. They still need to be passed by lawmakers before any of this becomes reality.
That $3,000 can go a long way.